Welcome everybody back to our Christmas to New Year's marathon here at the Veil of Sound. And as usual, we try to give you some diverse listing for these interviews. And I'm very, very glad to have one of the, shall I say, legendary Iceland black metal band circus people around for this one. So I'm very, very happy to have Einar from Fortið here on the show. So thanks for joining.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Is this live, by the way?
No, it's not live. It's Christmas, this for everybody again. Yesterday I recorded, at the moment it's my Nordic days. Yesterday on the 27th, I recorded an interview with Gustav from Spurf, from Tromsø, and now November 28th, we're recording this year. The release date for everybody. You know when we released this, between Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So no, we have not gone into live streaming.
No.
But for everybody, I can already tell you that there might be something like that up for next year. So Einar, thanks for joining. One of the reasons is, of course, I want to talk with you about the new record, Narkissos. I would also, of course, like to know a little bit about your opinion on that whole Icelandic black metal scene or metal scene. And of course, at the end of every interview, every of our interview partners has to go through the infamous quickfire round, but more on that later. So, Einar, first of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but Fortið is already running in its second or third decade by now.
It's 21 years old.
Yeah, so we're just entered the third decade of existence. You have released a lot of records. You have released a lot of records that a lot of my friends and I like a lot for various reasons.
Okay.
Something that strikes me very often is that although one can hear, roots in black metal, if anybody asks me to name a black metal band that if I had to, that I would compare Fortið to, there is only one for me, and that would be Bathory.
All right.
And I'm not sure if you have heard that before.
No, I've been stuck with the enslaved comparison basically from the beginning.
Yeah, I can also see enslaved. Yes, definitely. For me, it's Bathory for all the pagan and all that melodicness that is in your music.
Okay, fair enough.
So there is something that strikes me. You have a knack for writing songs that have a very, very good melody line. It's never devastatingly crushing. It's never, oh my God, the world is going to end very, very, very soon. No, there's always some kind of positive melody in there. Is that something that is important for you, not to be like complete pitch darkness?
I think it creates more tension in the music to not dwell in one, place the entire time. I think that the tension and the mood swings become greater that way, basically.
So would you also agree? I mean, there is a huge debate always in any kind of metal, whether it should be the darker the better. But would you also agree with me that black as a color cannot exist without white? And that therefore, if you want to have a strong contrast, you also need some bright spots?
Well, I've never maybe considered that exactly like you say it, but when you have that white, you definitely feel that black more, you know. Yeah, if you would only know one thing, then what would that be? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk
But,
a little bit. You go ahead.
let's say, you know, where I come from, Iceland is very much like this, you know. It's very bright in the summer, very dark in the winter, you know. So I think it might have something to do with this. I don't know.
So let's talk a little bit about the new record, Narkissos. For all the Greek people out there, I know I mispronounce it. Forgive me.
Yeah.
How did you decide on that record title and on the overarching theme for the whole record?
My wife and I have been going through some legal processes against people that have people, I can say people, that have basically tried to fuck us over financially, and it's a very long story, and it's a big legal case that we have been now going through for 2 years, a little over 2 years. It's been a lot of struggle and fight and courtrooms and all kinds of bullshit. And I never go into those details, but I needed some kind of an outlet for this. And Narkissos is a reference to narcissism, because that's what we've basically been dealing with here. And I've been trying to, as you know, we basically fight these people. I've been trying to get myself into the way they think, you know, try to understand how they are seeing this, how they are thinking this, what they are planning, and to get myself basically into their head. And this has been inspirational process for me as well. You know, everything I experience, everything I do, everything I see, it's always going to be inspirational for me anyway. So this is that era basically, and yeah. So I knew already that Narkissos would confuse people. That title, they would think, he's gone over to Greek mythology. And I knew that would come off as confusing, but I liked the title too much to let it go, and you know, I just went with it. And yeah, then it's just up for me to explain what this is.
Which is totally fine. Would you then say that this record is a revenge record or a fight record?
It's basically it's you know, American Psycho.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically, you know, getting into the head of that person and visioning his life.
Do you think that the other side is aware of being a source of inspiration to your music?
I'm not sure he's listening to my music, no. But who knows? Or I say he now because there's of course like a main culprit in this thing, but you know.
Yeah. We let's not go into detail. We don't want to wash dirty clothes on the show because that's personal.
No. Yeah, and it's personal. It has legal complications, and it's just boring on top of that. You know?
Yeah, the letter is the most difficult one to deal with, right? It just bores the hell out of you, and at the same time probably takes up a lot of time. It's time consuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Narkissos. So it's very interesting that you choose this, because of course, a very referential title, a Greek, is it a demigod? I think it is a demigod, right? Falling in love with him, with his reflection in the pond.
Yeah.
Are there moments when you are so proud that you can feel that way too? For example, proud of your music?
Well, I like I always said, I think we all have some sort of narcissism up to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And I brought, diving into the subject, I of course start thinking about like social media, and
Yeah.
all that, and yeah, I think we all have it. It's just, and then there are many types of it too. So there is the what is it called, malignant narcissism.
Yeah. The bad
which I'm
form.
which I'm basically tackling here. But then it's maybe the more or less serious one. Hey, look at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
then there is also the positive one, right? Achieving, being in love with yourself, but at the same time doing something good for society. Okay. If he is a little arrogant, then nevertheless, maybe he has reasons for it.
yeah, it could, sure, why not?
But correct me if I'm wrong, but that element of narcissism, that is, as far as I understood the record, that is not an ongoing theme. It's not a red thread throughout the record, right? So can you tell us a little bit more about the background?
It's a red thread through the album, yes. But
in very many different shapes, isn't it?
Side. Yes, in different shapes, and there are side steps there, especially in the middle of the record. There are some side stories that are somehow, I think, relate. Like, for example, track number 7, Ilskal Midlu Gjalda, is about Loki, the god. And well, we can debate if he's a narcissist or not, but I felt like he fits the theme, and it's an old song too. So it's not written especially for this particular concept, but I thought it belonged there. So
definitely. If you then say that, not every song on this record was written specifically for Narkissos, and you've already mentioned track 7. I will not try to repeat it. I don't want my tongue twisted.
No.
Are there other tracks that you had in the pipes from times before?
Yes, but not lyrically. Not lyrically, but yeah, musically. The music, some of it goes as far as 2015-16.
Wow. Nearly 10 years. Wow.
Yeah, but that's normally the case for me. I have such a archive of ideas that if I start to write and I need something, I just go into that, and until I find something that I'm like, yeah, I want to work on this.
Okay. So do you then have like a literal archive with sound files and sound snippets that you then go back to, or is it written?
No, it's sound files, yes, snippets, and and sometimes whole songs too. It varies, but mostly it's maybe a couple of melodies, 1-2 riffs, But yeah, sometimes it's the whole song. But yeah, my phone is full of this.
And then you find a few songs where you say, okay, like I would like to work on this. Do then you alone do the majority of your work, or does the whole band get together?
No, like it has been, I am just demoing everything with like a drum machine, bass, guitars. Sometimes I bother with the vocals for the demos, but usually not. And then I present it to the band. But that has been the way, but I'm hoping to change it. The new bassist in the band, I would like him to maybe get a bit more involved. He has some good ideas that I would like to work with him on.
So when he's listening to this and breaking sweat that he has to work a little bit more now, you're welcome.
Yeah, but I think he's excited about it. I mean, he has some ideas that he wants to get out there, and he is. It's very much in line with Fortið, because I mean he has been listening to Fortið from the beginning of the band, so he's influenced by it, and so he fits right in, in that sense. So we are musically on the same wavelength, pretty much, I would say.
Good thing. I mean, like that's the way it should be, right? When listening to Fortið, of course, one of the things that is striking is the amount of, for lack of a better word, pagan metal influences in some of the songs. Maybe the word anthemic, like epic and like nearly like a hymn or a war song or something like that. That is striking. Is that something that has been an influence on you and on your writing personally, like that kind of genre, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's most of it comes from cinematic music, actually.
Oh.
I'm very much into film scores and stuff like that, and I incorporate that into my music as much as I can, without maybe letting it dominate the music.
Can you give an example where maybe not a particular song, but maybe a score, maybe one movie score where you say like, okay, I listened to that piece or listened to that soundtrack, and that really got me going. That influenced me here, or that inspired this part.
I will name two of, first of all, it's not a soundtrack, it's Moonlight Sonata, because we talked before about white and the black, the dark and the light. Moonlight Sonata taught me that, actually. The first part especially is this this struggle between the minor and the major chords, and creates this this struggle. We were this drama that we were talking about earlier. But film score is definitely my favorite. Is Gladiator by Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer and Lisa Gerrard. Oh.
Yes, and Lisa Gerrard. Let's not forget her. She's amazing.
Definitely. It's funny that you mentioned that one, because at university, I wrote a university paper for my history class upon write that soundtrack. So actually on both soundtracks, because there are two different discs. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
I'm a huge fan of that soundtrack.
Yeah. Although from a history point of view, that whole movie is rubbish, but the soundtrack is awesome. And from a movie perspective, it's a good movie. It's just history-wise.
Yeah, well,
but I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Joaquin Phoenix is of course like a great actor. He's just so good. Yeah, of course. I realize historically this movie is rubbish, but it's very well made anyway. And
for everybody who
the music, I don't think it would be a lot without that music, to be honest.
No. There are so many scenes.
Yeah, not nearly the same, let's say.
And it's also very often the parts, which are seemingly very calm, where the music takes it to a whole different level. I mean, when the gladiator is dying at the end, and he's walking through the fields, and all of a sudden there is this change of color, and there is also a change in tonality. That is perfectly done, definitely. For everybody out there who wants to know, there is one thing that is historically accurate about the movie, and that is the fact that Emperor Commodus really fought in the circus, in the Colosseum, but he didn't die there. That's the only thing that is historically accurate.
Okay, so he did fight himself in the ring.
He fought himself in the arena.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. But it's interesting. Then, I mean, like here you also give us an example of a soundtrack that, although it is done at the end of the 90s, turn of the century, it is very much a classically inspired soundtrack. I was gonna ask how you like people like Vangelis, who also did incredible soundtrack work, for example, for Blade Runner, but which of course is totally different to that. Is that also something that you like, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely. I'm into all kinds of film scores and sounds, definitely, and more recently, because I am accumulating these huge sound banks myself. So I have many gigabytes now of all kinds of sounds that I still haven't used, and I'm like a kid in a candy store now.
Would that also be something that you would like to do, to score a movie in its entirety?
That would be a dream, yes. That would be an absolute dream.
So Hollywood, if you see this, if you could choose a kind of movie, would there be a kind of movie where you say like, something like Blade Runner, something like Taxi Driver, something like Gladiator, that would be it? Or does it not matter at all?
I think I would definitely want to go for either the sci-fi genre or something ancient.
Okay.
Something mystical.
It's interesting. I think
historical.
I can imagine the latter working perfectly with some ideas that you also present on Narkissos and on the other older albums as well, of course. Interesting. I would not have guessed that. And it's also interesting because lately I've heard that very often. I've heard very often people saying like, movie scores are a huge source of inspiration. More and more people acknowledge the importance of movie scores, which is cool, I think. On the other side, of course, something that is often...
And it's not just...
You go.
It's not just movies. Yeah, it's not just movies. It's also video games, because that music has moved into the video games now, and it's no less. It's the same brilliance there going on there today. So, and
That's
even
true.
some retro games love the music. In some old retro games, love the music too.
But I hope you're not talking about that
So,
8-bit
yeah.
8-bit stuff like Tetris.
No.
Not that. Okay. It's
No,
interesting.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about old stuff like the 90s, like late 90s, like Diablo 2
Yeah.
or Command and Conquer, the Red Alert. Just awesome music in those games.
Yeah, also
Actually, Diablo 2 soundtrack is actually one of my all-time favorite music ever made.
okay.
Mm.
To give everybody who's listening a little bit more of a background here, if you want to know more about, the difficulties of writing a soundtrack for a video game. A few months ago, we had an interview with Hidden Orchestra with Joe Akerson, and he spoke about that, and he also spoke about something similar to what you've been saying. He said like scoring video games now is something that he loves to do. You not literally more than scoring a movie, but that is something that he definitely would like to do more and more. What I wanted to ask is also something related to that pagan aspect in your music, and also to that narcissist idea or that topos that you used. All of that is based on religions and cults, which a lot of people nowadays would call havens. Or something like it's not a monotheistic religion, right? Are those kind of non-monotheistic, or better said, polytheistic religions, are those more to your liking than an institutionalized Catholic Church?
For sure. I basically have no problem with any no.
Monotheistic
I have
religion.
a problem with monotheistic religion. I have no problem basically with the others. I'm against the Abrahamic religions. That dictatorship.
Yeah. It's always interesting whenever anybody asks me that my point of view on that. I say like, okay, the guy up there, the pilot up there, I ain't got no problem with him, but the grounds personnel down here,
yeah, yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. I have nothing against for example, the stories of Jesus as such. I have nothing against the character. It's the fuckers that worship him that are my problem.
And it's also interesting that a lot of people talk about Jesus as this glorified person, which, of course, for everybody who is of Catholic belief, he righteously is. But let's think about it this way: the guy preached a non-capitalist point of view. He was, I would think that he was a socialist in a way. He comes from a country where most Europeans like to send their asylum seekers back to. He didn't fit into any kind of institution back then, or any kind of regularity. So we're basically talking about a person that we are worshiping, but we're only worshiping because he's been nailed to a cross. If he was a person in the 21st century.
And why are they worshipping the cross? That he was tortured and killed?
It's easier to worship a cross than a wall.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, imagine they had hung him on a wall. Then we would be carrying a brick around with us.
Yeah.
But I guess you would not take your anti-monotheistic ideas to the extent that some guys did 30 some years ago in Norway. You wouldn't go about and try to set flame to those institutions.
No, I maybe if I was still a teenager, I might consider it, which I of course did, but as a teenager, but no, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, like we all have to admit there is a certain kind of appeal in that picture of that wooden church burning in Norway. I mean, like we all have to agree there is some kind of allure to that. You know,
It's very
of course.
romantic. It's a very romantic image.
It's as much allure in that picture as there is an allure in that cover for the first Rage Against the Machine album. You know, that monk burning.
Oh yeah.
There is an allure to that. Let's go back to the recording of Narkissos. I mean, like the record was released middle of October through Lupus Lounge, aka sublabel of Prophecy. When was it written? Is it one of those pandemic records, or is it shortly after?
Most of the material is shortly after. I released World Serpent in 2020, and it's after that. Most of the material comes after that.
So this record is not directly influenced by your experiences through the pandemic?
No, no, I wouldn't say that. No, I didn't have a bad time during the pandemic. I have to say.
It's interesting. There are only two kinds of people when we talk about that. Yes. Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm not empathetic to people and their. I'm saying for my personal life, this was nothing.
I want to come back to one aspect, and that is the melodicness of the songs. Is that something that comes natural to you, or is it something that you have to strive for?
That's pretty natural. Yeah.
Then you are one lucky bastard, because I think that ability to have those big parts in such sometimes tumultuous soundscapes, that is awesome. I like that a lot. But the more I think about it, the more I can understand you saying, okay, there is a lot of soundtrack love in there. I can see that. So, Einar, I know that Iceland is far away from everything, but what can we expect for 2024? Will we see you on a larger tour throughout Europe, playing some festivals, or are there other goals for 2024?
The only goal for 2024 is actually to play live.
Oh.
For Fortið, yes.
Have you already set some things into motion?
Yes, but I'm struggling with the lineup, and yeah, and you know, it's I'm looking at the festivals, the ones that are actually taking commissions. We do not have a promotional agency behind us, so I'm gonna have to do the booking, at least for now, myself, and there's a lot of the festivals that don't seem to be accessible. You know, which I kind of understand. I mean, they can't be going through maybe thousands of applications. I don't know.
Yeah. Would you? You go ahead.
Yeah, please. I have nothing
Would
more.
you? Would you rather? Would you rather play a festival dedicated completely to black metal, or would you be open to any kind of festival?
Yeah, well, I was trying to reach, for example, Midgardsblot in Norway.
Mhm.
I've been trying to reach them, but no answer so far. So yeah, that's this pagan festival, of course, or Viking festival. We would also fit in a black metal festival for sure. I mean, we have such an extensive catalog of different kind of songs, and we could do different kinds of sets, and yeah, we could fit in pretty much anywhere, I would think. But,
well, an ambient festival.
Yeah, no, maybe not. But at the same time, I often feel like we don't belong anywhere, At the same time, I sometimes feel like that because we don't fit into the black metal category. We don't fit quite into the Viking metal or pagan metal category all the time either, So sometimes I feel like we just don't belong,
Yeah, but at the same time, if we want to look at it positively, you could also say, because you serve a lot of different genres, you fit on a lot of bills.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that, and I also, it's intentional also to. I strive to try to create something new. I don't want to fit in to something that's already been done. I want to try to do something new that you haven't heard before. I strive for that. That I want to create something new that I myself haven't heard before.
So would you say you also like to be an outsider just a little bit?
Yeah, well, yes, for sure. And that's how I can, come back. We can come back to the pandemic. I had no problem with just being secluded and not contacting people because I am an outsider like that.
I mean, like, when Iceland is a good place to live, I'm pretty sure there are parts of Iceland where you are very secluded.
Yes, but that's another thing, during the pandemic, there were no tourists and all the great places were human free.
Sounds so funny the way you say it. Okay. So to maybe take it a little bit too far, is this love or this liking to be an outsider, does that also for you in a way implicate your own personal kind of freedom, not having to adjust to any kind of expectancy or any kind of group?
Yeah, I totally want to live that life. Yes, I'm not trying to belong to anything. I'm not I'm not a tribal person.
It's interesting that you then make music which a lot of people associate with tribes.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
That's one contradictory point of view that you're mentioning.
Yeah,
but I get that. I get that. And of course, we all have to be clear that when we're talking about that kind of metal, and when we're then talking about tribes, I'm like, that is a niche community, right?
Yeah, and in a way, I do have my own tiny tribe. Like I'm not saying I want to be entirely alone. I mean, I have my wife, I have my dog, I have my parents, I have few close friends, you know. So, you know, in a way,
You're not
that's
an
a
hermit.
No, I'm not a hermit exactly, you know. So, yeah, you can refer to that as a tribe maybe, but yeah.
But I like
But
the idea of getting
I don't.
freedom through the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I what I mean by not being tribal is that I don't belong to any groups. I don't belong to any political groups or, you know, any kind of activities or anything. You know, I don't seek anything like that.
But can I then ask one last question before we come to the quickfire round? You say that you don't belong to a political group, and we hear that very, very often in metal, you know, whether it's pagan or black metal or death metal. We very often hear like, oh, I'm not part of a political group. Totally fine. But does that for you also imply that you're an apolitical person? That politics don't interest you?
Yeah, they interest me. But there's not a party out there that I would vote for.
Yeah, which is totally fine. It's just something that also my students very often say, like, okay, how can I be an apolitical person? Not me myself. I am a political person. I got my ideas and affiliations, but can students ask, like, can they be a political person without associating with a party or something like that? And I say, of course you can. Of course you can. You can make up your mind about things.
Yeah, and I am, and I consider, you know, the what should I call it, the least worst ideas, you know, or yeah, but it's in general flawed, you know. The system is flawed.
Yes, there are flaws in the system, definitely. But at the same time, we also have to admit that we have not come up with a better one yet.
No.
As appealing as the idea of communism is, it is really appealing. But unfortunately, it's not fit for the human mindset.
No, I think my ideas about the community are so far out there, you know, they are impossible to, yeah, this kind of something like something along with you know, I don't know if you've seen Zeitgeist.
The word or
the documentary?
Oh no, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But would you consider yourself more a conservative or a liberal person, or somewhere in the middle?
If I have to,
you don't have to.
If I would have to, if I had a gun to my head, I would go a little bit to the right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be clear for everybody out there is nothing wrong with conservatism. There is nothing wrong with conservatism. It only is wrong if you go to the extreme part.
Exactly. But I think extreme left is just as bad as the extreme right.
Of course. I mean,
worse even, yes.
Well, I don't want to say worse. It's just, you know, everybody thinks that the extreme left and the extreme right are so far apart, but actually they're not. There have been moments in the 20th century, for example, in the conflict for Palestine, there have been moments when anti-Semitic right-wing groups have been working with left-wing groups because they had a common enemy, and that was Israel. So to make it clear, all those illusions that we have of, you know, left is left and right is right, yeah, they don't work always. Therefore,
no, it doesn't always work because the ulterior motive is always
Yeah.
is always financial. It's always financial. It's wherever the money goes, you know. So, you know, ideals go out the window
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
easily. It's where the money is, basically.
Yeah. I mean, like,
just follow the money and you will see the truth of everything.
Yeah. For example, think that the US financed one of the worst communist regimes ever in Cambodia.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that.
No,
one thing, if I try to see you correctly, then I would guess that you would rather live in smaller communities that can govern themselves, right?
Yes, definitely.
And then we are very, very quickly back to paganism. Cool, I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for
I like
sure.
that. So, Einar, first of all, thanks for all the interesting ideas and all the interesting thoughts, and also for giving us cool examples about your love for different kinds of music. However, nobody leaves a Veil of Sound interview without having to go through a quickfire round. You always get two alternatives, like vodka versus gin, or reading versus watching a TV show or something like that. Black versus white. Coca-Cola versus Pepsi. There is only one answer to that, but you know what I mean. So you'll always get two couples, make a choice, and give a short explanation for your choice. Let's start off with something easy, because I think that both of us come from a time where we listened to our fair share of heavy metal. Do you prefer The Maiden with Paul Di'Anno, or do you prefer The Maiden with Bruce Dickinson?
Bruce Dickinson.
Is there one Maiden album that you love most?
Fear of the Dark, maybe, or Number of the Beast.
Interesting. As a record, it would also be Number of the Beast for me. As a song, there is hardly. I mean, like Rise of the Ancient Mariner, of course, but Fear of the Dark as a song is awesome. I love that one too. Let's go to thrash metal. Early Slayer versus early Metallica.
Early Metallica. Yeah, I shocked you there. I saw it.
No. I also like. No. I also like, for example, Ride the Lightning. I love that record more than, and I know people will hate me for that, but I love it more than Rain and Blood. That's just the way it is.
I think at that time Metallica was more technically better musicians, you know, composers at
Definitely.
that time.
Yeah.
Slayer was more brutal, more hard, of course, but
let's get it right. I think
composition-wise, Metallica were a stronger band, I think, at that time.
I mean, like when we think about the fact that both bands were also influenced by punk, then we have to agree that Slayer carries those roots much more on their sleeve than Metallica.
Yes, totally.
But again, you know, Metallica, just like you said, musician-wise, they're just better.
Yeah, especially after the first album, because, you know, Cliff Burton story, if you know the whole Cliff Burton story, you know, he got them into these musical, different musical ideas that really you see a band grow. And I don't know of any other band growing so immensely between, in 1 year, as they did between Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. It's an amazing change of a band.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like that is not a little step. That's a huge leap.
Yeah.
Let's turn our ears to death metal. Morbid Angel versus Death.
Death. Yeah. I've never been a big Morbid Angel fan, actually. I mean, they're okay, but I never got into them. Like, yeah. And my favorite Death album would be Sound of Perseverance. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but you know, they say Human or you know.
I have
Sound
to
of
admit,
Perseverance.
my opinion on that changes every few months.
Yeah.
And
Except
that in
that,
itself, I consider a good thing. You know, if you
except,
can change your opinion on that question all of the time, that is a good
yeah,
thing.
yeah, that is a good thing. Yeah, it's like, yeah, if what you are listening to at that moment is your favorite, then that means it's just fucking great music.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, I want to exclude that Painkiller cover though. That was not a good idea.
Well, everybody has a flaw, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Metallica has Lulu. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I don't even want to think about it. I tried, because it's them. I tried, I think, 2 or 3 times to listen to that album. I can't get through like 5 minutes, and I have to turn it off. It's just a fucking horror. It's a train wreck. What the fuck are they doing?
I have to admit, I didn't even try, for one reason. There has never been an album by Lou Reed or with a huge influence of Lou Reed that I liked. No Velvet Underground. No. I just don't like the guy.
I agree with you totally. I totally agree. It's like, is this even? This is not a musician. What the fuck is he? You know,
yeah. He's just an ass.
Yeah, basically.
Let's come to something positive from Germany. Creator versus Sodom.
Oof. Creator, I guess, but neither of the bands have been hugely influential to me.
It's not a question of influence. It's just like, what do you like more?
I think I would move more towards Creator, yes.
Yeah. You indirectly hinted at, you know, like a love for movies and comics indirectly. I hope I got that right. If you had to choose between the 2 biggest comic universes, would you choose Marvel or DC?
What is DC? Sorry.
DC is Superman, Batman, and all that stuff, and Marvel is Spider-Man, the Avengers, Black Widow, Black Panther.
Yeah, I guess I would go for the DC if I had to.
Ooh, here we definitely disagree.
Okay.
That's totally fine. For composers,
but it's funny. I never said I was into comics,
but there was something where you said like a love for something. Maybe I misunderstood that. But anyway,
I'm into cartoons. You know,
that was it. That's where I was thinking about that. Yes,
I never said it though.
But you've mentioned something. I will listen back to it. Yeah. Do you have a favorite cartoon?
Yeah, I think Castlevania would be my favorite, all-time favorite. But then I'm into all that, you know, South Park and Futurama and American Dad and all that stuff. I love that stuff.
So a little subversive stuff.
Yeah. and of course, let's not forget the best of them all, Rick and Morty. I love Rick and Morty.
Well, as a lifelong Simpsons fan, I have to disagree on that. But that is also something. I got into the Simpsons even before they came to Germany, and therefore I have a lifelong love for that show.
The Simpsons have some great moments, but they sometimes get so fucking cheesy and American cheese, you know.
Yeah.
So
I know what you mean. Composers. Ennio Morricone versus Vangelis.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I have to state here that I am horrible with knowing who does what. Just to be clear on that.
Then I can help you. I'll give you a soundtrack or a movie for Morricone for a handful of dollars.
Okay.
Or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And Vangelis, 1492, that movie from the 90s, or Blade Runner.
Well, I will take Blade Runner. I will take Blade Runner out of those movies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm like I said, I see a movie, I fall in love with the soundtrack. I look up the soundtrack, listen to the soundtrack. I don't bother to actually know who wrote it. You know, Hans Zimmer being the only exception, basically, because of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
because of the Gladiator soundtrack, you know.
It's interesting that you mention Zimmer, because most people would probably say that the same thing about Williams. You know, the guy who did Star Wars and all the other great things.
Yeah. I have to say I'm really not a Star Wars fan. I just think it's so stupid, those movies. But
well, it's
the
a fairy
music,
tale, right?
Yeah. Whatever. I don't care who likes it or doesn't like it, but the music is fantastic. Fantastic music. Yeah, I think so.
Williams.
Yeah. Okay.
If you had to choose between Star Wars and Star Trek, is there one that you like?
No, the music, you mean?
No, general. The TV show versus the movies.
No,
yeah.
I would not.
You would not
I'm
choose.
not into Star Trek. I would not choose.
That's cool. That's all good. As we're talking about movies, maybe you have an opinion on that one. I'm not sure, but Stanley Kubrick versus Alfred Hitchcock. 2001 versus Psycho.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Yeah, I would have to go for Psycho. Yeah.
The only movie ever that I know of which kills its main actress after 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That alone is. Do you know why Psycho was shot in black and white?
No idea.
Hitchcock didn't have enough money for color film.
Okay. Was that his first, or was
no. It's one of his later ones, but nobody gave him enough. Everybody said, like, you're going to kill your main actress after 20 minutes? We don't do that. So he basically had to finance it by himself, and he just didn't have enough money to get color film.
No. Did not know that.
Last one, and I think it will be interesting. I think I know which one you choose, but nevertheless, Bathory versus Enslaved, so that we come full circle again.
Yeah, I choose Enslaved there. Yeah.
Einar, thanks a lot for your time. You go ahead.
Or you
no. That was not a surprise. No. I would, as we have talked about it before, I would have guessed that you chose that you would choose Enslaved.
I would still love to be able to separate the Fortið name a little bit more from the Enslaved name, because I would like people to I would like to not be so compared to them all the time, but whatever. It's not, of course, people hear what people hear, and it's not up to me to decide, of course.
See, I hear something different.
Yeah, that's cool.
Einar, thanks for your time. Thanks for all the insight, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Everybody, if you like this, give us a subscription, give us a like on Facebook or on Instagram. If you want to support us, go to our website. You'll find all the information there. And Einar, now for you at, I think it's what, 8:11? 10 minutes past 8 in Iceland.
9.
9? Okay, so your chance for last words.
Yeah, you totally got me. I'm now like thinking about the clock and the time difference. There's
Well,
a time
here it's 10 past 10.
Yeah, when you in Europe, when you change your clock, you know, we never do that. So we have 2-hour time difference, and up until like a couple of weeks ago, it went down to 1 hour.
Yeah, because we went back. Yeah.
Because we are on the Greenwich time. Is that
I'm Central European.
Yeah, we are GMT.
Greenwich Meridian. Yeah.
So we never move our clock anywhere.
Well, that might also be a good thing to do.
Yeah.
Einar, enjoy the rest of your evening.
My last words, because I'm tired and I have nothing else in my head.
Oh, cool. So enjoy the rest of your evening, my friend. Talk soon.
You too. Yeah.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.